right, folks. Our voilà. Well, welcome, folks. We welcome Michael in Germany, Della. Oh, welcome, Della. Who else is with us? We have Joseph in New Jersey, Natine in Canada, Diane also a Canadian in London, Ontario. We have Eddie in Washington State, Liba and Davida in New York, Zara in Malaysia, Rusty in Texas is with us, Daphne in South Carolina, a fabulous Friday, Julian in Pennsylvania, a beautiful day. Miriam is with us in London, England, where Shabbos is coming in soon. Getting Tanya right before Shabbos. Beautiful. John in North Carolina, shalom. We have Atab in Pakistan. Welcome. No, Tanya's not going to be on Instagram. There's something, a problem that has not been fixed. That it seems to be. Anyways, Jean, welcome. Good morning. Tim is with us in Texas. In Parker, Arizona. And Denise in Israel. All right. Where I just was for a few days. Cindy in Florida, welcome. Yes, welcome back. Welcome back. Brian, welcome. Mary, shalom to you. Denise in New Jersey, welcome aboard. David is with us in California, where it's probably not even bright and early yet. Early, but not. Okay. Who else? Jean is in North Carolina. In Indonesia. Cyprus, Nathaniel. Alea in Florida. Jeff is with us in Michigan. Boker Tov. We've got on Clubhouse, we have Batya, Vilma, Yochanan, Adam, Michael, Eliana, Marcy, Jay. Beautiful. We continue and conclude the 21st letter. This letter about tzedakah, charity. And yesterday, we brought out the idea that every good thing that you do, every mitzvah, everything that God needs us to do it with alacrity. Do it swiftly. Where do we learn that from? Abraham. He took his son, his only son, the one he loves, says he was commanded by God to bring him as an offering. And it was a test. What was the test? That he would listen to God? Abraham not listen to God? Obviously he's going to listen to God. That wasn't the test. How do you listen? How do you listen is the question. Do you do it with a ball and chain? Or you do it swiftly? If this is what my God wants, then this is what I will do with great swiftness. That's what we learned yesterday. So when it comes to the mitzvah of tzedakah, right? Some people, well, being charitable is somewhat of a, I got to give, okay, but I give not with a full open hand. Well, you got to help in your hand to give, but might be holding back somewhat. That's what we learned yesterday about charity. Today we learned two other very important components to the mitzvah of being charitable. And that is that when we act charitable by giving often. Now, what does that mean? It could be the same amount of money that would be accumulative, and you give it one time, but instead of giving it one time, you give it many times. What's the difference? In the end, it's the same amount. No, the Rambam writes that that is particularly praiseworthy when you do such a thing. Why? Because, as our sages say in the Talmud, a person is judged by the multiplicity of action. In other words, you're giving. Excuse me a moment. Hello. Okay, just go into the library and take from there. I'm just teaching right now. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Someone coming for their lulav and esrog. So, the multiplicity of action, it embeds in the donor the act of giving, because you do it many times. If you only give once, then the act of giving is not embedded in you, even though it might be $1,000 you gave. But if you gave that $1,000 over the month or 2 months or whatever amount of time, right? Then it's the act of giving is going to be much more embedded in you. My children, when they were young, when they saw money, they called it tzedakah, because they saw the multiplicity of action of the act of giving with money so often, as opposed to buying things with it. I mean, later on they learned that you could buy candy with it, kids candy and then adult candy. That's true. But what's embedded in them? Money. It's tzedakah. Why? Because they saw it often being put into a charity box, into a pushka. For this reason, says the Rambam, that by the multiplicity of action of giving, we refine our soul. As the Torah says clearly, that pu'ulas et tzedakah l'chaim, that the effect of charity is for life. The refinement of our life, right? Now for a second reason. Not only is it embedded in our psyche and it refines us that we are become giving people through the act of giving constantly, even though the sum total will be the same, but also it's life-giving, not just in refinement, but in life itself. In other words, the effect and the mystical consequence of tzedakah is that we elicit from on high and draw down supernal life from the source of life, the fountain of life, the Ein Sof, to the land of life, which is Malchus Vatzilus. And this is done in a reciprocal manner. What does that mean? So life is coming from God, of course, the fountainhead of heaven, but it's funneled, or it is funneled through Malchus of Atzilus, which is, Malchus is the last of the divine attributes. It really has nothing of its own, as a king has nothing of its own. A king is just a reflection of the divine, true king, right? So Malchus of Atzilus takes from all of the other divine attributes, the 9 that are beyond it, higher than it, greater than it, and it becomes a recipient of it, and a recipient of the Ein Sof, and it gives life. How do we elicit that? When we do the same thing. When we give life to someone who doesn't have, just as Malchus doesn't have. When we, to elicit that, we have to give to those that don't have. And therefore, we'll be able to, by us animating and giving life, we then elicit from on high the Malchus of Atzilus, that is a conduit for you, God. Ata, which is the letters Aleph, Taf, Hey. Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Taf is the last one. In other words, it is the Hebrew alphabet that is animating because it's the word of God, right? And Hey is the 5 organs of articulation, right? The mouth, teeth, tongue, palate, and larynx that verbalize and articulate letters and words that are the animating force of Malchus, which is the king. As the king rules with his word, God creates with his word. So to bring that into, to elicit that, when we give to those who don't have, so then Malchus of Atzilus is a conduit for Ata, for you, God. And you see how it is the conduit for it, right? As it is Ata, you, the letters Aleph, Tav, and Hey, spelling the word you, that through that, it elicits the fountainhead of life to us, into the world, and which gives us life, gives us strength, fortifies us. Now, this is in particular now, because Malchus of Atzilus is also known as the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God. And the divine presence, the Shekhinah, is identified with the Sukkah of David that has fallen to the very dust in the times of exile. The Sukkah is an edifice, right? All that day that's coming. But it's also in reference to the Holy Temple that has fallen. The Shekhinah has fallen. The house of God has fallen. And as our sages say, that when the Jewish people went into exile, into Edom, Rome, the Shekhinah went with them. The Shekhinah went with them. So it is at a time like this, when the Shekhinah has fallen, it needs to be reinvigorated, right? It needs to be, like the latter hay in God's name that has fallen. So how do we do that? Well, that's what a tzedakah does. By our initiating down here, by reviving the spirit of those who are humbled, who don't have, they don't have, or they're lacking. We then revive the Shekhinah, the divine presence, that has nothing of its own, but of that which was given by the other divine attributes, right? The higher spheres. And we then, by that giving, the Shekhinah that has been humbled because it is in exile will be activated. Reinvigorated, right? Especially when we give, says the Alter Rebbe, to what we call the land of life, is Malchus of Atzilus, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, to the actual land of life, which is Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, geographically down here, that is a reflection of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, Malchus of Atzilus up there, the heavenly land. And as the Alter says, this will be suffice for those who understand. So, says the Alter Rebbe, that now whoever who is enlightened with this great and wondrous matter, in other words, that our act of giving reinvigorates the Shekhinah that has fallen, right? And animates it, so to speak, that allows now to bring new life down here to us. Now you can understand the concept of that you're judged according to the multitude of action. Because every time you do the action of giving, you are bringing back Malchus to its place to be reconnected, which creates a unification of the Shekhinah with Kodesh Brichu, with the Holy One, blessed be He, the reunion, so to speak, of the male and female parts of the divine, Shekhinah being the female, the attributes beyond that, the six ones in particular, the emotive attributes being that of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the male aspect of the divine, and you create a unification, and therefore you bring a new light into this world, as all unions bring about beget, and beget a spiritual union of the light and the life of God. Powerful idea. Now, it says the Alter Rebbe, these two ideas of Maimonides, that we have a refinement of the soul, and now we actually, through charity, by the multitude of action of charity, and now by the multitude of action of charity, we create Malchus to be revived, revitalized, to be unified, a unification, a union, male, female, of the divine that brings new life into this world. So it's also similar to what Maimonides says, that the soul is refined. Because in the Zohar, the Shekhinah is also called soul, nefesh, because it is the life of our soul. In other words, the Shekhinah is the life of our soul. So Shekhinah, nefesh are the same idea. So with this, then we understand how not only is it bringing the Shekhinah, but it's helping my soul. It's refining the world and me. And that's why great is charity, because it brings redemption near. Because we're raising the Shekhinah from the dust, from exile, in gradual stages with every act of tzedakah, until Yavah Shilai, until Mashiach comes, until the Shekhinah will be reinstated in its pristine place forevermore, never to be fallen again in the times of Mashiach. Wow, very powerful. Okay, any questions? 2 question marks before you ask a question, please. Does giving tzedakah for Eretz Yisrael weigh more heavily than giving charities outside of Eretz Yisrael? You first have, responsibility to your community, your physical community, and your also spiritual community. You have a responsibility there first and foremost. Or first, I shouldn't say, is family, extended family, and then your community, geographic community, and also beyond geography, in the sense that you're part of a a community, and then to Eretz Yisrael. So it's not the first thing. Okay. What happens to someone who holds back giving tzedakah? You know, they're holding back life. They're holding back redemption. You know, look what we just learned. So we understand. Diane, so when you give each month directly from an account through a reoccurring payment, does that have the same effect as consciously giving it from the pocket daily or monthly? Good question, Diane. Excellent question. So when you give it from your account directly, well, maybe you don't feel it when it was taken out of your account, but when you look at your account and you see that money was taken, then you kind of feel it, the sense of giving. So there's definitely the physical act of giving. Ma'aseh tzedakah, the act of giving, is definitely something. If it's all done in a way that it's not noticeable to you or to others, right? Going to the charity box, giving, writing a check to your community, that's bringing you close to God. Writing, doing that, or the act of taking your credit card and yesterday I took a picture of it, and online to do something, but there's an act going on there. So there's definitely something to that is valuable, invaluable. That being said, I also have reoccurring things on my credit card, and I only notice it, from time to time. So that's okay to have the reoccurring. It's not a problem at all. It shouldn't be the only way we give. Again, when you're going to look at the statement, you're going to recognize it, So then it's sort of like, touches you. But yes, we can have both. Very good question. Thank you, Diane. But why does Gene? Why am I going back up? So it's like a meditative state. I probably shouldn't do it because it's probably confusing for people or distracting. When I shuckle in prayer, it's like a meditative state. So I'm kind of like in a meditative state, but I probably shouldn't do it for your benefit. Okay. Any other questions? Excellent. All right. I think that's it. All right, folks. Gene, you love it. Okay. If it brings you to a meditative state, that's great. If you don't, if it is distracting, please let me know. Let me know if it's distracting, because then it's not distracting. Okay. And Julia says, Gene loves it. All right, folks. And he says, keep on meditating. God bless you guys. Thank you. All right, Rambam is coming up next. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Tzurich Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing day and a good Shabbos. All the best. Thank you. Thank you, folks. God bless you.